Okay, so I'm just going to go over stairs a bit more and railings as well. So you'll see here I've got a staircase which is a very simple one, just a straight stair. So I'm going to use this opportunity to do a few more interesting stairs maybe. And so I'll actually clear that one out. And so I'll delete it so that I've got room to do another one. And I'll also just adjust my walls because I need some more room there. So then I'll have hopefully some room to do an L-shaped stair. And so that might mean the doors here would change, but that's fine because I've done them in a bit of a rough way anyway, just with detail lines. So I'm going to just make this a little bit neater though before I do that. So I'm going to make a new stair in this corner and show you some tricks you can use to make the set out of your stairs a bit more accurate. And so the first thing when you're using the stair tool is to realise that you have two different tools for stairs which are completely unrelated to each other. You can't switch from one to the other. So you need to decide from the beginning which one you're going to use. And if I was you, the one I'd be using is Stair by Sketch. Every time, if you can. The only reason I'd use the other one, Stair by Component, which I will just choose, so that you can see the options. And the only reason I would use this option is if you want a full step spiral stair. Full step spiral, so in other words a spiral stair that goes a full 360 degrees or more. So that's a difficult stair to make using Stair by Sketch. And you actually have also here a Stair by Sketch option within this new stair tool, and a few other interesting things. But even with those, that option there, Create Sketch or the spiral, they're much more difficult to edit. So if I just do a simple one so you can see what I mean. Okay, so it looks fairly easy when you make the stair. I'll finish that. But now I'm going to select it and come back to edit the stairs. And if I want to change any of these flights, I need to select it, and then you have automatic tools that will let you add risers and things like that, but even they can be tricky to use. And if you want to be a bit more creative and change the shape of that stair, it's very difficult. You have to, so you have to convert it to a sketch, and then still you're working on each flight as a separate sketch, and it's just more work generally. The other option I'm going to show you using Stair by Sketch, it's much more straightforward because it's all one two-dimensional sketch. It's one set of lines. And I still find it much easier to work with. Most people I know who use Revit every day still use this one if they can. So just remember that. And I'll just show you as well actually. If I go to the first one, Stair by Component, you'll see it'll give you an assembled stair which has different properties. If I go to the other one, Stair by Sketch, it's just a normal stair. You can see that it's not assembled. And if you look at the type properties, you'll see with the other one, assembled stair, that they are different, the properties that you're given. And also in the properties, a bit harder to adjust than a stair like this. So, like I was saying, try to think about that and only use Stair by Component. If you have to, Stair by Sketch is generally the better option. Right, so then with Stair by Sketch, I'm just going to make a quick one to give you an idea how it generally works. With the Run tool, you can draw either straight or curves. So with the straight line option, then Run, just going to click a point, and you'll see then that I'm drawing with the centre line of the stairs, and it's counting the risers. And it's in the grey text there, which is a bit hard to see because I've got my floor there in the way. So I'll just do it outside here, and you can see there it's a bit easier to read. It's telling me 6 risers created, 10 remaining. So I can click to finish that, and it's giving me the 6 risers up to that point, and then you might have noticed that it's drawing using the centre line. So that blue line there is the centre line, or the run line. And if I click a new point, that's going to be the centre of my next flight of stairs. And I'll go over to the left, and you can see again it's snapping from one riser to the next. And once it gets to the total riser, or the total riser count, which is 16, it'll finish that flight. And then it'll automatically create the landings. So that's all. Yeah, yeah.
That little bit is just all flat.
Yeah, that's right, that's the landing. So, so then how does it know, though, that we need 16 risers? The levels, exactly. That's right, exactly. So you can see in properties, it's picked up the levels in my project. And so I started on the ground floor. So it knows to begin from there, and then it measures to the next level. And so if you, say for example, had a mezzanine level that you didn't want to go to, that you want to skip and go to the level above, you need to change that here so that it's measuring properly to get your risers. And so that's one of the first things you should check when you're making your stair. You need to be aware, just like you are when you're designing a stair, the level that you're going from and the level you're going to. Or in other words, the floor-to-floor height, which you'll hear people talk about often when they're designing stairs. And so then, as you're saying, it does have tolerances, mostly for the maximum riser height. So for Australian stairs, the maximum riser height is 190. And you can see there, just by going to Edit Type, it tells us what the maximum riser height is. Okay, so then looking at the section, level 1 is 3 metres. So if we open up calculator, 3,000 divided by 190 is 15.7, rounded up is 16. And so Revit works that out for you, and that's a nice thing. But that's the maximum riser height. If you want a different riser height, you can always go down and change the number of risers. So you can't change the riser height directly. No, because it's always divided between your levels.
So how does it...
Always. Yeah, always. And this is the same when you're designing a stair, even if you're not using Revit. It's never a multiple of a riser height that you'll decide beforehand. You'll decide what the difference between your levels is, and then divide that by the number of risers that you need.
You'll never have like 190 and then you'll have the top one as like a short...
No, that's actually not allowed. No, risers have to be the same in a single flight.
So that's so scared everywhere will just always be different.
Yep, they have to be. In different flights you can have different heights, but not in a single flight. Every riser has to be equal. And I actually worked on a court case. Yeah, that's right. You do. Yep. 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 So I worked on Sydney Central years ago, and someone tried to sue not us, but the property owner, which was a government department, and argued that because the risers changed height, that he'd tripped over and hurt himself. But luckily for the department, the stairs were considered to be outdoor because they were undercover. They were still in the outdoor part, and also it was stairs where the ground sloped up, and you know how at the end they change height. So he didn't win, but people tried on all the time. So yeah. Well, it was a big department, so there was a good chance he might have gotten some money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, there's a well-known study. It was in New York where they studied a staircase going down to a subway, and the last stair was a few mil different to the others.
So it must be one of the slightly down.
Yeah.
Is that what it is, Karen? Yeah, it has to be. I mean, I didn't get my tape measure, but it was literally the same. So by how you can see.
It was the top step or
No.
like in the middle somewhere?
Halfway up the second run.
Oh, that's
Up the
Yep.
Up to the second turn.
Yep. Yep.
hate when you jump on an escalator that's not moving.
Oh.
It feels weird.
Yeah.
But it's just normal stairs. That's all it is stairs. But because it's escalator, it just feels weird.
So it's a nice thing that it keeps the rises equal, but you can change the height of your rises just by changing the desired number of rises here. So if we go to 18, then you can see then it's got an actual riser height of 166. 19 will go down to almost 150, and 20 should be exactly 150, if you can do the maths. So the riser count, you can see there, it's telling me 16 risers created, 4 remaining. So I can use that blue line actually and stretch it out, and it'll let me snap to add those remaining risers, which is a nice little trick. But often you'll want to set things out a bit more accurately, and that's what I was going to show you. So just want to give you an idea how the stairs get made generally, so you can see why I'm going to do the next thing. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So I'm going to do that as well. Yeah. So I'm going to hide this floor because the floorboards are getting in the way, and then I'm going to go and make some reference planes before I make my stair. And stairs can be less than a metre. They don't need to be a metre wide. It's only required stairs that do. So this isn't a required stair. And so I'm going to make it 900, which would be okay for a building like this. And so to set it out as accurately as possible, I'm going to draw a reference plane that's 900 from that wall, and then another one 900 from the wall below. I might hide some of these other planes that are just going to get in the way. Okay, so then, I'll drag this one over, and this one as well. So by doing that, I know where the landing is. And then I can even go further and say, well, I think my treads are going to be 250, and if I have 3 treads, that'll be 750. So from there, I'll drag that dimension up and make this distance 750. Or I can realise then, well, maybe I've got a bit more room and I could make it 1,000 if I want the stair to go right to the just behind the opening. And then to start drawing that centre line, I can draw a reference plane that's centred between the reference planes that I've already drawn. So I'm just making these distances 450 because I know that my total width there is 900. So if you do that setup, it makes it much easier to draw a stair accurately in position. And so now I can just go back to step by sketch, and then the other option we're asking about, the width, you can set as a property as well. So we'll go there and change that to 900. And then the riser count I'll increase because I want lower risers. So I'll make it 18, I think is okay. And then you can start on that intersection, come down to the next intersection, and you can see there the stair fits exactly into that space. And the same thing here, and I can just take it all the way to the end. Right, so if you need to draw stairs accurately, it's often best to do what I've done and draw in the reference planes. Oh no, sorry there, but you can see I just missed that one, so I'm going to undo that and do that last flight again. Okay, so watch out for that. It's snapped to something else, I think the window. I'll go back to run and then just draw exactly on that intersection. Yeah, so sometimes it will do that. It's snapped, I think, to this instead. And so then you're going to get a join at a corner, which will actually cause problems with the railing, but it's still not a bad way. Not a bad way to build a stair. But I thought I'd just show you as well with another example. If I go and use stair by sketch again, I've been using the run option, which again is drawing with the centre line of the stair. But you might have noticed that it's really creating, as well as the blue centre line, a black line for the riser and a green line for the boundary. And so below run, you've got those two options, boundary and riser. And you can draw them yourself rather than accepting the automatic run that it gives you. So I'll go to boundary, and also I'll do another run. I don't want to go and draw this. So you can see there again, with the second flight, it's putting the landing in. But now I'm going to come back and delete some of these lines that it's created for me. Alright, so now I can use the boundary tool and draw in any shape I want for the boundary or for the side of the stair. So I might want it to curve. So I'll use an arc. Right, so you can draw any shape. And it's really freeform, so I'll delete some of these other... Oh, that's a different thing. That's in the properties you do that. So this is just the shape of the stair in plan. And they don't need to be touching. So actually I'll bring back the one I've just deleted. So here, this line, you can see doesn't touch the boundary, but that is still going to work. If I use riser, now I can go and draw some more black lines. And notice here, it's still counting them for me. So it's got 11 risers created, 5 remaining. So I just need to create another 5 black lines. They should. Yep, they should. So you'd have to sit down and work that out. But they don't actually need to be the same depth. There's just... Yes. No, that's right. That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. And so there are requirements though for curving stairs. Yeah.
Why is that? Why?
Yeah, well, because you can vary the depth. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do a lot of stairs that are necessary. Yeah. So with a spiral stair, they do all change, or any curving stair, really.
Yeah.
All right, so that's still going to work, even though the lines are crossing over. But now I need to join the end, and so I'll use trim just to join the ends there. And another tip I can give you there: if you've got a run line like this, it's often best to just delete it, and then again draw in the boundaries. And I'll just join some new risers then. So 3 remaining, so I'll just draw those lines. Just so you can see that you can do virtually any shape. You probably wouldn't want to do a stair like this, but you can if you want to. Alright, so I'll tick to finish, and it'll make that stair, no problem. So you can do virtually any shape you can draw in plan. And so there you can see it's made that stair in 3D. So then, yeah, and so you can also do curved stairs that are basically spiral stairs using the same tool, stair by sketch. So with the still with the run tool, you can change it to a curve, give a centre point, and then a start point and an end point. Right, so you've got a lot of flexibility in the shape of your stair. The railing there is playing up a bit, but we'll worry about that later. But then you're asking about the whether you have open risers or not, and those are properties you set in the stair properties. So here with the let's see, I'll go to a simpler stair, so I'll just use the one I already have inside. Okay, so I'm just going to get a section box view that is going to show those stairs, because everyone wants to do open rises these days. I don't know why. Okay, so I've got a view there showing the stair. Okay, so you all know what a stringer is? Or, yeah? Yeah, right, so this thing on the side of the stair is your stringer, the thing that holds the stair up basically. And so you need a stringer with most stairs, especially timber stairs. And so I'm going to make it into a centre stringer though. So by going to Edit Type, scrolling down, well firstly I'm going to make a new stair type, so I'll duplicate this and we'll call this middle stringer. Then going down, you've got the stringers panel. So the left stringer is the one as you're going up the stairs on the left hand side. So I'll set that to none. And just click OK, and you can see then that it's taken that stringer off the wall. Back to Edit Type. And we can go down to the right stringer and set that to none as well, and that's taken this stringer off on the right hand side. Back to Edit Type, and the risers I'll set to none as well. That's taken the risers out, so I've got now a gap between my treads, and you've got to check that that still complies with the 135mm gap. That's the maximum gap you can have, or it's around that. I've forgotten exactly, you'd have to look in the BCA, but it's around 130. And so with the riser height that I have here, it's 166. And so it'd be good to have at least a 30mm, if not a 40mm tread. We've got a 50mm tread, so that leaves us with 116, which is okay. And so then going down further, you've got middle stringers. Now you can build stairs like this. They're called cantilevered stairs that are cantilevering from the wall. They probably have to be a bit thicker than that, but you can build them. Yeah, you can't cantilever out that far. You could do this. No, it's not. Revit can do it. It's the fact that you can't build it in real life.
Okay.
So here, that's about the maximum you can cantilever. About a bit over a metre is as far as you can go. Because it's got to have. Essentially it's got a beam that's or a bracket that's anchored into the wall, and it's got to then support the stair coming out. And it's a difficult thing to achieve. You can do it. I mean, have a look at it. There are plenty of stairs, and they sell special products to make stairs like this, but you can't go out infinitely. There's only so far you can go out. So normally with a stair like this, when you have open risers, instead of cantilevering it, you'll have a middle stringer. And so that's the thing you can just turn on in Revit, and that'll give you the stringer going through the centre. Now the way it's going under the landing there is a bit ordinary at best. So you can change the stringer height there is way too low, so I'm going to make that 150, and the landing carriage height I'll make 100. So here where it's coming down below the landing, so that's much better. And actually I probably made the landing one a little bit low. It should be, in fact, another option there is just to turn it off. It's difficult to get it to follow the landing properly, so sometimes you can just set the landing to nothing and then come back and model in that part of it separately. That's up to you. So the middle stringer though is often a good thing to have. But I don't mind if you want to have it cantilevered out. These stairs easily could be cantilevered. So I'll set that to 0 again. And so then we'll have to do something about that window, but we'll worry about that later. The railing, you can see there, is going past the window and along the wall, so it's not really necessary. So you can just delete that. And you'd have to do something about that window there, probably put a panel there or something like that. You can't have stairs alongside a window like this. It's not, it's a BCA thing. So you need to protect it essentially. You can have the window, but you need to cover it with a fixed panel. And then the stair materials, so to render it and make it look realistic, you'd want to have, for a stair like this, you could have timber, so you can go edit type, and you have material properties for all those different elements. So I've got a tread material, and I can browse there and set that to timber. Okay, so I already have a timber material that I created earlier called wood timber, so I'm happy to use that. And you have material options for all the other components that you're using. So the riser and the stringer can also have different materials. And there we go. And then the railings, you have the same option. So the railing is a separate object, and we can choose from the list here any of those 4 preloaded handrails. But what if the handrail you want isn't in the list, or the stair you want isn't in the list? So I know I showed you this briefly before, but I didn't give you a recording, so I'm just going to show you how you can get stairs and railings from the library. And it's one of the most unobvious things in Revit. It's pretty easy once you know how to do it, but a lot of people just don't know about this option. So the trick is open, not load. So when you go to the main menu, click where it says open. Don't choose anything from here. Just click on the left under the new button, click exactly on that open option. Don't worry about choosing any sub-options. Then you can use the metric library shortcut and go to sample files to get railings. Okay, so the reason you have to use that method is because it's not a family file, it's a project file. So you need to open the railings project to get to all the railings. Okay, so zooming in there, you can see you have a pretty good selection of different basic railing types. Right, so you just need to select the one you want. They even have railings doing other things like awnings and fences and things like that. Okay, so you can even just find one similar to what you want. So I want one similar to this, not exactly the same, but close to this. So I'm going to select it and then use copy to clipboard. And then using the Windows button on your quick access toolbar, you can switch back to your project file. Go to the view where you want to work with it. And where to go, section box there. And then again on the modify tab, go to the clipboard panel and choose paste. Okay, just click somewhere to place it. So I've brought that railing now into this file. I'll just leave it there for the time being. It's a much nicer railing than the one I've got. So I'll select it, and then in the list now, notice it's got a new name that I can choose. Parapeto 14. Much nicer. Doesn't maybe work the best on the transition there, so I'll show you how to get around that in a moment as well. Okay, so I'm going to delete the original railing. Let me just show you a little bit about how you can adjust handrails. Railing. So I'm going to select that and then go to Edit Type, and here I've got the top rail set to none. So I'm going to set that to a circular rail, and you can see then it's put in a new handrail at the top, which is part of the problem in the first place. So I just have to then adjust that height. Back to Edit Type, make that 1000. That's brought it down. Okay, so that's working already a lot better than it was, but we still need to get the rails here to work properly. So back to Edit Type. Now if I go to the rail structure, the rail at the top, I'm just going to delete. And then again, when I click OK, you can see now it's improved once more. So I've still just got a gap there that I can bring down by changing this top rail height. So I'll bring that down to 900, and that's again much better. And then finally the balusters, these vertical elements, can change. So back to here, if I go to baluster placement, and then I'm just going to choose one of the already loaded balusters. So the round, I'll probably have a bigger round one. I'll go for the steel flat actually. And I'm just going to click OK and see the height there. Okay, so that's going to work a lot better. And so now I'm happy to go and change all of those. So back into baluster placement, and you can change all of these to steel flat. And clicking OK now, so you can see that is nearly done. I just need to get the height of those balusters to come up to my top rail. So again, back to Edit Type, the top rail there is only on 900. So if I go to baluster placement and set the top to top rail, and then again all of these. And there we go. Right, so it's a pretty flexible tool, and you just need to have a look at the properties, and it's fairly intuitive as well. So then you can use the same option to bring stairs in from the library, but just remember that stair type that I showed you at the beginning, stair by component, uses assembled stairs. And so if you go and open that file I've shown you just now, it gives you assembled stairs. And like I said before, they're not interchangeable. So the trick to getting the older stair type is to go to a file that I've put onto the P drive for you. So you can just browse to P, and then Interior Design, Revit Library, Sample Files, and Stairs. Okay, so you've got all the basic stair types there. It's really good actually if you're trying to make a spiral stair using this tool. You can just copy these from the library, because they have things like the post and the handrail added as well. And remember, it'll pick up or it'll detect the levels in your project and adjust the height of these stairs accordingly. So I'm going to select one of those and use and show you exactly that method. So I'm just going to use copy to clipboard, switch back into the file that I was just in. And go straight to the view this time. So I just can't see it again in the list. Okay, so again, using that, paste it in, and this time I'll just place it to one side. We have to add a couple of rises to this one, but that's not a hard thing. Okay, so I can go edit the sketch, and this one, sorry, because it's no. Okay, so that's a sketch-based stair, and this is actually where spiral stairs become too difficult in with a stair like this, with this level. So instead, that's where I would use the new stair tool, and I'll show you how to get the railings onto that. So if I want a spiral stair, I'm going to go stair by component, full step spiral, check the risers, click to place the centre, and then bring the stair out until I see them separate. So it's just before they separate that it'll give you a full step spiral. And then the railing afterwards can be set the same way as the other one. Okay, so there we are. So that's if you need to do a spiral stair, and they work really well. Generally, you just need to make sure that the string is turned off on the left-hand side usually. So the left support, none. There we are. And then you put a post in instead. But yeah, I might finish that there, and you can always refer back to this video to check anything.